Hello everyone. Right, so I'm out in a place in Shropshire, come to see a friend for the weekend. Just beautiful, beautiful surroundings. I've got a willow tree in front of me and I'm just sat on this massive tree stump, just contemplating bullshit. So I just wanted to recount something. So we all know that over the last 2 and a bit years, people are shown their true colours, what they're truly like, what they're made of. You notice changes in people, in family. This sort of divide that they've created is separated people on a number of levels. And those of us that are somewhat awakened to what we are and still striving to hang on to our humanity are staying to a degree relatively human, where we're enjoying the things of life, we're enjoying being tactile with those we care about, having conversations and laughter, being human, stuff that many people have forgotten clearly, which you saw during the scamdemic period, where they keep 2 meters apart and wearing gloves and wearing a mask and separation and no contact. And you could see in people that something in people has died. And I actually relate that to the Britney Spears. Those that had the Britney Spears already seem disconnected somehow from the norm, what we knew as normal human behaviour. And what's become known as normies now are just like these droids walking around. The analogy for the Walking Dead is the people that are walking along with the fluoride stare, dead eyes, masks still on up to their fucking top of their nose, and there's just this disconnection from people. And what I've noticed is there's varying degrees of it. So there's the varying degree of people that are, if you use the mask as the example, you've got the kind of people that are still wearing a mask now, and it's put on right up to their glasses if they wear glasses. Now these people genuinely believe that there's something to worry about, there's something that they could catch, there's something to be fearful of. So to a degree, their behaviour is congruent with that belief system. And then there's the other people that are still wearing it but wear it around their chin, and they know something's going on, but they're willfully ignorant. They don't want to know, they want to fit into the norm. And then you've got the likes of me, which is just fucking absolutely defiant, because I know what this is, and many people are awakened to it. But what you're seeing happen is people are forgetting how to be human. So I'm going to give you 2 examples, right, that's just happened to me in the last matter of days. So the first one is I went to the opticians for an eye test. Now the last time I went to this same opticians, it was during the first lockdown period, and they were extremely fucking anal. So they had this strap across the door where one person comes in at a time. They insisted on masks and gloves and everything else. I wouldn't abide by any of it, but I still managed to get my eye test. But now at this period of time, when we know that all of a sudden it's that narrative's disappeared for a new narrative, you're still getting people equally anal. So I've gone back to the same opticians, and they've got the same system in place. They've got this like strap across the front of the door, and instead of one in, one out, you can come in with somebody else and you're sat there, but they, oh, can you wear a mask? And I said, oh, fuck, I'm wearing a mask. I'm not wearing a mask now. Why are you wearing a mask? Why are you wearing a mask and gloves and walking around spraying everything? What's the matter with you? Oh, well, this is a sanitary environment. It must be done. And I'm like, well, I'm not abiding by any of it. I don't buy into it. So she respected my view and sat down anyway. As soon as I've come into this optician, I've gone in there, and previously, before we got in there, we were like having a laugh, having a chat, just being me, having high energy level. And then I realised when we sat down that what I just experienced changed the energy. So it changed the energy to a point where I was like, it kind of dampened the mood. And then I just decided to myself, do you know what, fuck that, I'm not going to allow that to change my energy. So we carried on talking in the way that we did before. We were having a laugh, I'm just being me, and then it kind of ignored what I just experienced. And that seemed to have a funny knock-on effect to the people that were in the shop. There was only like 2 women in the shop, both young, masked up. One was completely anal, but the other one kind of looked curious. So she looked across at us while we were talking, we were having a laugh, and she gave me this look that almost said, human interaction, laughter, communication. I remember that. And with that, I was called in to see the optician. Now this old boy, this optician, I think he was like foreign from somewhere, maybe Middle Eastern. Very nice person. Well, it turned out to be a very nice person. First of all, he was really quite anal. He had the gloves on and the mask on, and he sat me down. Didn't say anything about my status in terms of that. Looked through my previous history, can see that I'm involved in contact methods, self-protection, contact sport, etc., etc. And he started proceeding to tell me, oh, what you do is very dangerous. You must be careful that you don't ever get hit in the eyes because detached retina and blah, blah, blah. And he was showing genuine concern for my well-being. And I'm like, well, fuck it, mate. It's the business I'm in. Anyway, sat there having my eye test. All good. This person was so professional, extremely thorough. Started asking me questions and I started talking to him. And within a few seconds, I kind of got rapport with him. I'm kind of good at that anyway, but I got rapport and we're having a full-on conversation. We're talking about everything, just talking about life in general and bouncing off each other. And he got to the point where he took the mask off one ear and he's speaking to me and I can see his face. And we had a nice conversation. And as that's going on, outside the door, I could hear B talking to the previous woman that was anal, and they were having a full-on chat, and they're talking about life in general, and they're talking about ladies things and kids and clothes and food and this and that, but proper like having a chinwag like they'd known each other forever. And this woman was previously anal. This is the woman that I said looked over and said, oh, human interaction, I kind of recognise that. She kind of gave us that look. So she was curious. And after it all, I left. The optician shook my hand, put his hand on my shoulder, told me to take care of myself. We said goodbye to the lady, and it was very warm. In short, our energy changed their energy. It like countered it. And what I came to the conclusion of is that one of the ladies who was, completely anal, I would say, triple Britney Speared up, and already connected to AI, lost, just dead stare, dead inside, couldn't find her soul. The other woman, I would say, was probably on the cusp of it, where, she wasn't quite fast asleep yet, and there was something in our behaviour which wasn't congruent with the people that were coming in the shop every day, or earlier in the day, or later that day. And I'm pretty sure that once we'd left, by the afternoon of the same kind of drone-like people coming in, she'd have slipped back into the other pattern of, just being part of that droid community. But there was something in her that saw something in me, or something in us as we were communicating, that said, I recognise that. That's normal human behaviour, interaction, laughter, contact. And it was like she was curious and she missed it. And I would say that that was the last glimmer of her soul, calling out for something else. And, she was having a full-on conversation with us in the end and acting normal. And I really suspect that that woman had probably been the first time that woman had done that since all this programming has begun. So where am I going with this? Well, where I'm going with it is there's differing degrees of people that are being, if you like, brainwashed by this whole thing. There's those that are lost and done, and I do believe that the biochemical weapon that they're implementing in the form of these Britney Spears is the key culprit to doing it, along with other indoctrination and programming. But I believe that there's people that are maybe, maybe they've only had one of them, maybe they've had two, maybe the two they've had is a placebo, maybe they've only had one with the effect, because this is a procedure that will not stop at 3. It will be booster after booster after booster, and I believe that eventually there will be enough of them given to each person where they're going to get the manipulation that's intended by this, this whole shenanigans, if you like. And I believe that there's some people that are actually still on the cusp, in that curiosity as to, they know something's wrong, they feel something's wrong in their soul. Now, maybe those people can slip through the net. Maybe those people can be saved. Then I know other people that have had, one of these experimental gene therapies and are adamant that they're not having any more because they've been sick, it's made them feel bad. I also know a couple of people that have had it and have said they feel an absolute disconnection, almost like a disconnection to God, disconnection to soul, disconnection to other people. So I think that many are going to be lost to collateral damage, but I think there's some that will possibly slip the net. And then I had another experience yesterday. I was on my way up here. I'm out in Shropshire visiting a friend on this beautiful estate, and on the way coming we stopped at services, and I've gone into like a Costa, and there's a queue of people, and some have got masks on, some haven't, and the girl serving behind the till just looks like switched off in robot mode, and kind of struck up a conversation with her and kind of got a bit of a rapport going and made her laugh. Then there's another woman who's obviously the manageress, and she seemed quite anal, and then I thought, as just as a challenge, I would seek to try and interact and maybe sway her behaviour, see if I could get her, a bit more chatty, which I did. Then there's this, something happened with the card, the scan the card to pay for the coffee didn't work, then I had to do it manually. And this guy who's behind, who he sounded like a scouser, he's been waiting for ages to be served. Apparently he was getting a bit huffy. I went, oh mate, take a breath, come on. You know what I mean? So you only had a queue for coffee. Shit happens. She was, oh, I've got to go and get the kids. I've got to go and get the kids. Oh, so I'm sure they'll still be there when you get served eventually. And anyway, something else happened that made him have to wait longer, and he's huffing and puffing. And I went, mate, when you get your coffee, I'm sure, because you've had such a long wait for it, it'll taste like nectar. And then he just smiled and laughed. He goes, well, I doubt that, but he goes, let's hope so. And then kind of broke the ice and got him chatting. And then before I know it, the whole circle of people that were around me were like talking, chatting, different, almost like manipulated in state, if you like, So where I'm going with this is, if you are on the same page, where you recognise that people are forgetting how to be human. You're recognising that people don't interact anymore. They distance each other and everything else. And there's this. Well, some of them you're never going to sway back. They're the zombies now. They're the Walking Dead. You just got to let them go. But others are probably worth the effort, because even if you just create a light bulb moment in their head where they remember in that moment human interaction, contact, talking, smiling, recognising similar behaviour that stimulates different behaviour, then you're reminding them how to be human. And I think that's really, really important now, because many people have forgotten how to be with each other, and that's purposeful. All this divide, all this separation, to the point where you think everyone and everything's a threat. It's created this isolation in us, in people, and I think that's a very, very sad thing. And I think if we're ever going to get back to any degree of interaction as fellow humans, then we need to try and hold on to that. And I think it's your duty as someone that's still remained relatively sane at an insane time, to try at least to strive to working towards you know, getting an interaction with others. And if nothing else, what you recognize is that you have a power, you have an energy of your own that doesn't need to be dwarfed by the energy that you're experiencing. And even if you don't change the emotional state of others around you, you can still remain vibrant. And what that does is attract those that recognize it in you to you, if that makes sense, you know. And if nothing else, like, even if you can't have that influence on those around you, it still makes you shine bright. So I'm not affected by, you know, the rest of the sheep, because my energy is strong and is powerful, and I will put it forth no matter what response I get back. Just give me food for thought, you know. You see varying degrees of people that are awake. You see people that are awake to the agenda. You see people that are totally asleep to the agenda. Fuck me, there's people still watching the BBC, for crying out loud. You know, they're gone, they're lost. A lot of the old folks, you know, if they actually were awakened to what's been going on all this time, it would kill them. You know, so they're never going to get it. They're going to shuffle off this mortal coil not knowing, as are many others. But many others are awakened to what's going on, but not necessarily awakened to the power that they have as, you know, multi-dimensional beings having this human experience. That's the spiritual soul that you are. Because I really believe, we all know that this is a battle for dark and light now. And I believe the battle is for soul. I believe we need to fight for our own soul, to keep our soul. And I believe that, you know, we need to at least make it so that it will always be remembered what soul is, what that looked like. Because the agenda here is focused clearly towards connecting everybody to AI and disconnecting everybody from heart, so that you just become good little slave bots that are incapable of thinking for yourself. And of course, if this goes where they intended it to go, which I don't believe it will, you know, I don't have faith in the human spirit that's left. But if it went where it was intended, with this very sinister global agenda, then, you know, soul and spirit as we know it would be gone, and you'd just be a controlled drone connected to AI, where all your thinking and thoughts would be on a monitor in front of somebody somewhere, and nothing would remain sacred. So I think the battle for soul starts with you keeping who you are, being who you are, no matter what, no matter who's around you, and striving as best you can to influence others around you to, you know, find it within themselves. Just some food for thought.